What's good, everybody? I'm back with a brand new video for Story Time with a Thug. Who's a thug? You're looking at him. So I set up a little differently. You can't see DP, but there it is, definitely. But anyway, so my next story is, oh, and I apologize for not putting the video up last week. I just was busy and I didn't get to it. So I'm going to try to stay on track this time. This story is about the very first time I fell in love with wrestling, my fondest, earliest moment of wrestling. So I believe that my earliest moment of wrestling, and I'm pretty sure I had earlier moments, but you know, as a kid, you just remember things when you remember things and how you remember things and where you was at. So let me set the scene. I'm living in Cleveland, Ohio, on Columbia Avenue, East 105, shout out 105. Was in the basement of the house, and I think I was wrestling with my brothers, and I had ran into this pole I was in the basement, or I hit this pole in the basement. And just tell you this, I'm not even 3 yet. Like, I'm on my way to being 3, because WrestleMania 3 came out, I think, in 1987 in March. And I was born to July 20th, 1984. So I'm not even 3 yet. So how I remember this? But anyway, God bless me. So I remember this. And I remember I got hurt. And I remember I was like, my mother was like, nah, you got to sit down now, because I tried to play, you know, once you're a child, you get hurt, you bounce back or whatever. And we was watching TV, and Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant.
The greatest professional athlete in the world today. Look at this. He's slammed it. I don't believe it.
In the Silver Dome, WrestleMania 3. I don't remember how many people it was. I'm just going to take a guess. I should have looked it up. Probably like 93,000 people, something like that. But anyway, I saw that and I was like, wow, like, Hulk Hogan, that's a big dude. Like, you know, seeing Andre Giant on the TV, you ain't never seen nobody like that. You don't see nobody walk around like that in the hood. And where I was from, one of them niggas walking around with a leotard, half of it on, and just big like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't ever remember seeing nobody that big in my life. But seeing Hogan slam him and doing that motion with his back, that after he slammed him, like, I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, you know, so in my mind, not only was watching wrestling enjoyable, but wrestling with my brothers and my cousins and friends in the neighborhood. I don't really have no friends in the neighborhood. Like I said, I'm not even 3 yet. So just wrestling was enjoyable. So I've always watched wrestling, I think, probably before, but definitely from that day forward. And I just remember just growing up being a really avid, huge wrestling fan. I asked my mother to buy the action figures. I had, at one point in time in my heyday, close to 500 to 1,000 action figures. And I loved them. I kept them as long as I could. I kept them well into my 20s, and I just moved on from it. You know, I was into women, and they had my first child and stuff like that. I couldn't keep up with it. So, anyways, so let me just say this so I can get this out the way. I don't forgive Hulk Hogan for what he did, but I'm not going to deny his impact he had on me as a child, as someone who enjoyed and watched wrestling. Eat your vitamins, say your prayer. Like, you know how many shirts that are ripped?
See him in that yellow. Look at him standing. Many of them wearing.
I don't got this pre-cut like Hogan, don't judge me. But Hogan's one of the reasons people rip shirts, share your prayer, search your vitamin, posed in the mirror, doing all this stuff. Like, because of Hogan. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, Hulk Hogan, I am grateful for the impact that you made in my childhood as far as wrestling. Outside of that, go F yourself. Now, you got to think of other wrestlers in the 80s. But see, Ric Flair wasn't on TV. I didn't see Ric Flair to the 90s. So I didn't really know much about Ric Flair in the 80s. But that's the evolution of wrestling and how it was growing. You know, my favorite wrestler of all time is Psycho Sid Vicious. He used to cut the best promos. The best. So, and I remember, like, evolving from Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, you know, his group, the Rockers, Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, just the list is going. I'll just be naming people like Randy Savage, $1 Million Man, Ultimate Warrior. Like, don't get me started. So I just really loved wrestling. Like, I liked wrestling way before I got into playing sports, way before I grew personality as people perceive me to be outgoing and funny. Like wrestling was it to me. I never wanted to be a wrestler. I just like watching wrestling. Wrestling didn't seem like something that was obtainable. It would just seem like something you do when you're bored and wanted to have fun. I never thought about it making it a lifestyle. But wrestling was great. I mean, just it was unreal. It was unreal for me. I've seen a lot of wrestling live. Yeah, I think my oldest brother was the first one to take me to a show. Yeah, he was the first one to take me to a show, and I just been a fan of wrestling. One of my favorite wrestling moments, I was in college, and Ric Flair drove past me because he was doing a show at my school, like they was wrestling. And I never forget that because I was walking, and he was in a Buick, one of them champagne-colored Buicks. I'm pretty sure he rented it. He was on his cell phone, and he drove past. And I was like, damn, that was Ric Flair. Like, I was that close to Ric Flair. Like, that's how much I still had an appreciation for wrestling. I don't have appreciation for it now. I think they don't write good wrestling anymore. But I want to tell you a Hulk Hogan story. So one time, my youngest sister wanted to go see wrestling. She asked me to go with her, and her mother bought us tickets, so we went. And we was there. It was a Monday Night Raw. It was cool. We was high up, but we were just enjoying wrestling. It was cool. And then it just got real quiet. Me and her was talking, and then I hear, dun, 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 dun. Now, this is way before his racist allegation, and Hogan was still popular as all time. I don't think this may have been after he wrestled The Rock at WrestleMania. He was back to the red and yellow. So anyway, right, he would be red and yellow if he come out to the All-American song. And I looked at my sister, I said, is that Hulk Hogan? Is that Hulk Hogan? Is that Hulk Hogan? Look, I'm a grown-ass man. And even grown-ass men have sucker moments. I had a sucker moment. It was Hulk Hogan. I told you I saw Ric Flair in the car. I didn't tell you I chased the car. I didn't want to sound like a hoe. But I chased the car. You know what I'm saying? Like a dog watching his owner leave. I was chasing the car. But I saw Hogan come out, and it gave me goosebumps. And I was like, man, I'm well in my 20s, and it's still affecting the kid like this. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure like a teenage version of me or even a preteen version of me, I'd have been doing all like this and giving the ear and whatnot. But just the fact that I was in the building and I saw Hogan come out. There's a lot of wrestlers that I've seen in person. I've seen The Rock in person. I've seen Stone Cold in person. Seen Triple H. I've just seen wrestlers from going to shows, but I've never saw Hulk Hogan. And the reason why I'm bringing this up because Hulk Hogan is still in my mind the most impactful wrestler to ever step in the ring. And I never forget how I lost my mind over another grown man who I was nosebleed and he was way down here, but I still saw him and I was like, I had to scream like, there's nothing else you can do. Like, you'll be watching something and your favorite person just come out of nowhere. It excites you. So shout out to that. Also, I remember in high school, we used to wrestle and backyard wrestle, but I wasn't in to hit me with no light bulbs or slam me through no time. Like, hey, fam, we ain't get paid. Like, dog, I want to wrestle, but I don't want to get injured. You know, that's when they start doing them, you know, the little disclaimers. This is for adults. This is for professionals. Do not try this at home. Because people was really out here getting messed up. They was getting messed up. So in my mind, like, wrestling was everything. So it came to a point in my life where I stopped watching wrestling. I think like high school, I stopped watching wrestling, but I'm still mindful and I still cut my ears out for it. That was about a time where Attitude Era was at its peak, but it was starting to move away from the Attitude Era, and they was moving away from Raw as War. I remember WCW got bought while I was in high school, and so we used to talk about that. Me and my homie Melvin, we were doing Nick Moore. We used to just talk about things like that. And then I went to college, and I fell off of it. And I missed some really good stuff because, you know, like one day I went back and watched every WrestleMania from the 90s all the way up to the current WrestleMania. I'm like, dang, I missed out on some good stuff, you know. So right around the time I think John Cena became really popular, I fell out of wrestling. Like I'm still not a John Cena fan. You know, so wrestling definitely passed me by because I moved on to other things. But the evolution of my childhood attached to wrestling goes hand to hand. My, I don't want to say love because I don't have love for that character anymore. I used to have such a big thing for Hulk Hogan, his character and whatnot, but I don't have that anymore. But wrestling was huge for me. You know, I still think Ric Flair was the best ever graced the mic. Some people say The Rock. You know, it's all about your preference. And then, like I said, Psycho Sid, Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan, Flair, and probably Savage. Probably my top 5 wrestlers off the top of my head. Stone Cold was very impactful because that's at the time when everybody wanted to be rebellious and give the middle fingers, and you know, he had him Stone Cold. Like, that was just great. I never bought into wearing the smoking skulls. You know, I was raised in a house where you couldn't wear skeletons or bones and stuff like that, so I didn't get into that. But I loved it. His character, his persona. And Russell was just very impactful on me, man. Like, you know, when DX came around, everybody was doing the sucking and the signs, you know, just, man, it just, I don't know, like, I just wanted to explain to y'all how much I appreciate and love wrestling. I probably can talk about this for the whole 4 hours this video will let me record, but I'm not going to do that. So that's the latest story in the chapter. The next story I'm going to do is going to be on my favorite rap song of all time, and I'm going to explain to you why I like it, when I heard it, why I heard it, and why it's my favorite rap song, because I have to sneak it, because, you know. But there it is. That's my favorite. This is the new one. So let me know what you know. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscription. So subscribe, like, and let me know what you think. And what I'm about to do, you should always do, eat more.
Expect the same thing is going to happen in this four-quarter match.
Let me tell you something, Gene Oken. You out here talking about a clique. The only clique you need to know about is the Harlem Heat and Sister Sherry. See, because what you dealing with here is the brotherhood. It's non-stop from this point on in WCW. We take what we want, and after we take Lex Luger and the Giant, we want the gold sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
I should point out for the record, Stevie Ray, look at this. Take a look. We're talking about the rack, the torture rack of Lex Luger, and what about the choke slam of the Giant? These are the things you're going to have to deal with tonight.
What about the